What's up, guys, and welcome. You are watching Fazi Fitness. So, today we are gonna talk about some of the shocking moments that happened on and off stage in bodybuilding history. We all know Dorian Yates wasn't the same after he tore his bicep 9 weeks prior to the 1994 Olympia. But somehow he managed to stay on top for another 2 years. But things went totally out of his hands when he tore his tricep 3 weeks prior to 1997 Mr. Olympia. Now, most bodybuilding fans thought that the reigning Arnold Classic champion Flex Wheeler had the best chance of defeating an injury-riddled Dorian Yates. Now, what happened 2 days before the event is Flex Wheeler showed up with his hand and forearm bandaged up, claiming that he was a victim of carjacking 6 days ago. Flex stated that he had suffered some injuries that would keep him out of the upcoming Mr. Olympia contest. This incident has been called the Ninja Story by bodybuilding community, and many believed that Flex just wasn't in shape and needed an excuse not to compete that year. In 2003, Flex Wheeler came out with his autobiography and left that ninja incident out of it.
Distracted him and he looked over to see what happened, and when I seen that it distracted him, I grabbed the gun. We fought, and the outcome of it was, I sustained some injuries. They both sustained more serious injuries than I did.
For the record, Dorian won his last Olympia in 1997 that year, and to this day, that decision is still considered one of the most controversial decisions in bodybuilding history. The interesting thing is that Flex was also not there in 94 because he had a car accident prior to the show. And Dorian Yates himself admitted that although Sean Ray was in amazing shape, but if Flex Wheeler didn't have that accident, he would have beaten him in 1994. The Crucifix Pose has been practiced in bodybuilding since the beginning. Paul Dillett had an amazing Crucifix Pose because of his small waist and shoulder width. Bjorn Ansley has been hitting this pose since Classic Physique Division was created, and the list just goes on. But no one hit this pose on stage in a protest to the poor judging that happened on the day of Mr. Olympia 1978. I am talking about Kalman Szkalak. A brief history about Carl is that he burst into the bodybuilding scene in 1976, won the Mr. America at the age of 23, and later defeated Mike Manzer the following year, which was considered an upset. He was known for his massive arms and great chest development. Overall, his upper body would be ranked one of the best in that era, but his legs were lacking. But according to many reports, he was the best bodybuilder on stage that day, and it was a daylight robbery. When judges announced Carl as 5th place finisher, the audience was shocked, and so was Carl. Stretching his arms to both sides, with his head falling over his massive shoulders, Carl closed his eyes, symbolizing that he has been crucified by the judges in front of the thousands of bodybuilding fans. Although Frank Zane won his second consecutive Mr. Olympia that year, but in audience's eyes, Carl was the winner. He never competed again in the IFBB, and he was only 25 at that time. The back end to the story to why Cole was punished is because he had some issues with Joe Wider, with Joe using some of his pictures in the magazine without paying him. There was a lawsuit against Joe, which was later settled in the court. Bertil Fox was one of the best bodybuilders in the 70s and 80s era. Looking at his physique, you can tell that he was so ahead of his time. He had those massive arms, great delts, and pecs. The 1983 Mr. Olympia was probably another Olympia where the judging was questionable, with Lee Haney placing ahead of Bertil Fox in the third place and Bertil placing fifth. That was his highest placing at the Olympia. Unfortunately, in 1997, 3 years after retiring from bodybuilding, Bertil Fox brutally shot his fiancée and her mother and was sentenced to death by hanging. But after an appeal, his sentence was reduced to life in prison. It is so unfortunate to see a sad end to a bodybuilding legend. I do hope you guys liked this video. Please do let me know in the comment section and stay tuned for the second part. Hit the thumbs up button if you liked the video and smash the subscribe button if you want to come back for more. Thanks for watching.